So, what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
All right, that leads us to the most important question that we ask on the show. Vince, where does the Croods New Dawn, right? Not new, no, New Age.
New Age.
I don't know where I keep New Dawn must be from Mandy. I don't know.
I think it's that TV.
It's just from everything.
Oh yeah, there was the Dawn of the Croods or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
That's where I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, from 2020, where does it rate on your Cageometer?
I know we said this before, but I was expecting not to like this film. I thought it was going to be terrible. But it turned out to be a hidden gem. I'll give it an 8. I thought the story was so much better. It actually made me laugh. I thought they had some great humor in here. I love that they continued the character progression from the first film. And like we've said, they didn't just reset everything because that would have been annoying. Visually, it looks so much better. Holy smokes. It was incredibly improved. The writing was a lot better than the first film. And the voice acting I thought was great. Like Peter Dinklage, holy smokes, did he crush it. He was so great at that in that role. I mean, the whole cast was great, except I don't know why. I don't feel like Emma Stone was really like her character was so flat to me. And I can't remember if it was the same way in the first film, but I think she was probably the worst performance out of all, which is saying something because it was not, I mean, it's not a terrible performance, but I felt like she could have given it a lot more. Speaking of performances, I'll roll over to Cage. I'll give Cage an 8 here. I thought, especially compared to the first movie, holy smokes, did he bring so much more to the character this time that, like you guys said, it felt like a real character this time. It was flushed out, and I'm glad. I'm guessing that was direction that he was given. Like, bring some personality, bring some life to this performance, and it made his performance so much better this time around, and made the character feel more human, I guess, because last time it just kind of felt little wooden, a little stale. So yeah, I'll give him an 8. I thought he did a great job in this film and added a lot to the movie, especially since the third act kind of this heavy Cage, and his relationship with Guy and Phil. So I was glad to see that this film was so much more enjoyable than the first one. I'm glad that we ended up doing this one. I was scared that it was going to be a shit show. So
Same.
Yep, that's what I got to say about this one.
Yeah, they let him actually go full Cage in this one. Which I think is what's been missing from the animated films in general. Is like let him off the leash and let him do his thing. But yeah. Anyways, Nigel, where does the Croods and New Age rate on your Cageometer?
Yeah, thankfully this was a much better movie. I was really surprised at how much I liked it. I think we've all said that. We were all kind of, by halfway through that first act, we were like, damn, this movie's all right. We're on board. This is good. I think they did a fantastic job improving everything over the first one. Like I said, with a lot of times with these sequels, it's like they could slash the budget and just kind of crap out something and ride the success of the first one. And it really feels like they didn't with this. It felt like they actually went all out and tried to improve everything with a whole new team. It's kind of shocking given that it was kind of in behind the scenes development hell for so long that it came out as good as it did. And we've seen these people went on and made the Puss in Boots movie, which was like critically acclaimed, not just a financial success. So they had some good people working on it, and whatever that secret sauce was, it's good. The humor's great. The acting, you said the whole cast is awesome. I think they're great at their characters. I think the only one that's a little underdeveloped is Thunk, but I don't think that's the actor's fault. That's just what they didn't give him a lot to do with.
And Clark Duke was great in that role, but
he's just the comic relief. That's all they use him for and everything. She's just the idiot younger teen brother, but whatever. But I think we said it all. Peter Dinklage was a standout. I mean, they're all kind of stands out. They all were unique. They brought some life to the characters, and you could still kind of tell that they were good actors. You can recognize who they were through the performance, but also it didn't detract. So I only dock it a little bit. Did I give my score yet? I was going to give it. Okay, I'll call it an 8 out of 10. I dock it a little bit just because I kind of felt like that third act was a little bit random. There was a lot of things kind of getting added to it really quickly, and just to kind of wrap it up. And I guess it was to make it funny or visually interesting, but it kind of felt like a lot of it came out of left field with what they were introducing. And then, I don't think they could have done more with Thunk. I think they could have given him some kind of character growth. He was the only one that kind of fell flat and was just a one-note joke about an iPad screen, which we talked about it works at start, but not for his entire character for the rest of the movie. It's just kind of like, you could have done something a little bit more. Out of him.
Should like moved on from it in the third act. I feel like would have been better, and like him actually like coming out of his shell, which would have been great. But he just kind of goes right back to it. I don't know. So but a great sequel across the board. Like it's just a shame that it released when it did and wasn't as successful as it could have been. I think that really cut the legs out under its potential, but I think it deserved to be much more successful than the first one. And unfortunately it wasn't, just because of the circumstances, but it's a much better movie. So makes me wonder if profitability wise, maybe this was more of a profit, because a $65 million budget versus a $175 million budget. First one made close to 600. This one made over 200.
Yeah, so, I think it's that takes some of the sting off it, but I still think it wasn't as much as it could have been. So I don't know. Hopefully,
I wonder how it did on streaming, because I'm assuming that they probably dual released, or they.
That's what I was wondering. Was there a day and date, release it to streaming stuff, and then how maybe hopefully it picks up, on the different streaming services as people can watch it, with part of their subscription. And honestly, I do hope they make a third one. I like this one enough that I think they should deserve a shot at making a trilogy out of it, which I never, ever thought we would say after watching that first one. Yep. So,
same.
Yeah. It's great. All right. Bouncing over to Cage. Honestly, I think he did fantastic in this, especially considering what we've seen him with the first movie and what he did with that character or didn't do with the character. To see that, I don't know, he elevated it so much more in this one. I'm going to give him a 9 because I feel like we need to give him the credit where it's due of being a lead character in this animated movie and actually bringing some humanity and character and relatability, and just, I don't know what it was. Everything just felt elevated with it. And Grug felt like a fleshed out person, where in the first one, I just kind of felt like it was Cage reading a lot of lines, and it actually detracted from me. And he, in the first one, I kind of felt like everybody else had really good voice performances except for him. And it was just like he was Cage reading lines. And this one, he stands up with everybody else. Everybody kind of brings their A game and does a surprisingly great job with their voice work. So yeah, I mean, I was going to give him an 8, but then I realized I gave him an 8 for Into the Spider-Verse. And it's like, I don't think it's fair because he has like a dozen lines in that movie compared to this, where he's leading the movie. And I think he kind of brings his A game for it. And I don't know what like I said, the secret sauce for that was. I don't know if that was him being more invested in the character after all these years, or the directors being a little bit better about it and directing him and just letting him do his thing. Maybe the first directors kind of shackled him a little bit, but he goes more cagey in it, but it feels more natural and it feels normal for the character. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a great way for us to end these animated movies with the character that I think he deserved to play. Because I think I said in the first one, it just could have been anybody playing Grug with the way that they performed it. And this is like, he brought that Nicolas Cage flavor to it in a way that it's still the same character. It feels normal, it feels natural, but it's enjoyable. And he definitely made that character his. So yeah, I was really impressed with it, and I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, who would have thought that this like kind of the arbitrary way that we did these movies, kind of doing them in the order that they were released, with the Croods being the first one, because I wanted to bookend with the Croods, but like, who would have thought that this one would actually be our favorite out of all of them? It makes sense now why it was referenced so many times in Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. They didn't reference the first one, they referenced this one. Yeah. Of course I've seen Croods too, or of course I haven't seen Croods too. I'm a man.
Yeah. And I wouldn't recommend the first one. I'd recommend this one even if you hadn't seen the first one, because it's
totally,
you don't need to see the first one.
Film at the beginning that you don't need to go back and watch it.
Yeah, and this one's much more enjoyable. So don't waste your time on that first one. Just watch this one.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why they did it. Is because it's a 7.5 year gap. They like kind of recap the first movie a little bit.
Yeah,
in that opening.
I think they also figured there's not a bunch of Croods fans out there. There's going to be new parents bringing their kids to see this as their first introduction to it. So you can't make it overly complicated continuity between the two movies.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And it fits. The first one opens with kind of the cave drawing recap of who the Croods are and their family and stuff. So I think they did good.
Yeah, it's great. On my Cageometer, I'm just going to echo what you guys said for the most part. I also gave it an 8. It's, I think, the most enjoyable out of all the animated films that we've done, aside from Into the Spider-Verse, which, that's pretty high praise, especially for us. Like, I feel like we enjoyed some of the other animated films, but this one was really good. I mean, solid throughout, ensemble cast. I didn't feel like Emma Stone was all that flat. I thought she did well, Like Eep had to be more grounded this time around. I feel like that's maybe part of what happened with Cage. Was like in the first movie, he had to be more grounded as the stern father figure who was just trying to keep everybody together. And then this one, he kind of gets let loose to be a full fleshed out character because he's had that character development from the first movie. I don't know. Whatever they did, bravo. They actually got Cage to give a performance in an animated film, which, as we've said, seems to be difficult.
Yeah.
Because like Astro Boy is so flat. Ant Bully flat. The first Croods flat. But this movie, he really was able to bring his own personality to it and actually give life to Grug. But yeah, I'll go back for 65 million versus 175 in the first movie. They did such a great job with the visuals, the music. Mark Mothersbaugh really brought a lot to this, I think. The editing was great. The writing is great. The only things that bring it down in my mind is I feel like the Thunder Sisters was kind of a cop-out to try and wrap things up as quickly as possible in the third act. It was funny and it worked, but it felt like it was a little forced. And again, I wonder if part of that was Cloris Leachman had given a certain performance and they wanted to pay homage to her in the third act because she passed, but maybe she hadn't passed at that point. I don't know, but they felt like they gave more to her character, especially from the first movie. She was just kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
And she's the badass in this movie who leads the charge to save the men. But I don't really want to hearken too much whatever. I don't want to harp on things too much. I feel like it's really well done. And one note thunk was the only thing that kind of bothered me a little bit towards the end. I wish he would have had some more character development like we talked about. Cage, like I said, just he brought his A game to this one. I'm going to give him an 8. I don't know if I can quite give him a 9. But I did think he elevated the character to a whole new level. And I got to wonder if it's the direction that, like I said, that he was held in check in the first one because he had to be more grounded, but then was able to be slapsticky and goofy the whole movie, which he really is. He's just slapstick the whole movie, but he still has that fatherly feel to him. Yeah. And I think it's because we developed that in the first movie, but I don't know, without having the ability to have not seen the first movie and just seen this one, I don't know if that comes across the same way, but I feel like we get that fatherly feel because we've already seen him be that father for an hour and a half before, and he doesn't really do it so much in this one. But yeah, overall, it's a great performance. The movie is so much more enjoyable than I expected. I did not as soon as the goddamn sloth showed up at the DreamWorks logo, I was like, fuck, this is going to be a slog. But ended up being great. And one of my favorite films that we've done this season, surprisingly.
Yeah, same.
It feels so meta for this movie. For these movies, they're kind of about that getting thrown into a situation that you don't think you're going to like, and then kind of really enjoying it by the end and kind of transforming and seeing all the good that can come from it. kind of how I felt watching this after watching the first one.
Yeah,
So
totally.
yeah, it's weird.
I'm sad though that like we may not get another one just because it had to come out during the pandemic and it was such a train wreck behind the scenes apparently. But the movie ended up great, and that's all that really matters. Is like if you make a great movie, then you should be able to make a sequel to it, and it was.
And it's
profitable.
a contained movie too. It's self-contained. You don't need another one.
You don't.
But it's weird. How weird that we're all kind of bummed that there might not be another one.
Yeah.
Why the hell are we all pulling for a Croods 3?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I selfishly want to see Nick get a really good payday out of a third movie that makes $700-800 million. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So he can buy some more islands and then go back in debt and make a bunch of terrible movies for another 10 years. And
I think it's also
the
just
cycle continues.
we objectively appreciate quality and we want to see it rewarded. So even if there's a crappier, version of it, a crappier, inferior version we shit on, and then the sequel is good, we'll give it a good shake and want to see more.
Who would have thought?
Mm-hmm.